Kia ora koutou whānau. Welcome back to another edition of Big Hairy News. Kia ora Chewy.
Good evening, Pat.
How are you,
What's
love?
cracking?
What's crack-a-lackin'?
Oh, not a lot. I told I didn't say on the last show that what I was doing over the weekend because I realized at the last minute that it was a surprise party for a friend who sometimes watches the show. So yeah, Sunday we caught the train. Very exciting. Love trains. From Dunedin railway station out to Ark Brewery. And it was an excellent time, and all breweries should be served by passenger rail. That is my new platform. Vote for me.
Is Ark Brewery the one up sort of when you're going just north? It's about 15, 20 k's north of Dunedin.
Yeah.
Right on that corner that goes out to the where the old insane asylum used to be, where Janet Frame was. Seaview.
Yeah,
Seaview? Is that right?
The brewery on the way to the insane asylum.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, absolute surprise. He just thought it was him and his wife and his I think brother-in-law were just going out for the Sunday. Turns up to the train and we got 2 whole carriages booked out with his friends and family.
That's dope.
He thought he was losing his mind. It was great.
Good time. So he thought he was drunk before he actually got there.
Like,
I'm seeing all these people.
Crazy coincidence.
What's going on? Oh, cool, man. That sounds like a good weekend. What did I do over the weekend? Oh, we had our meetup on Saturday morning. That was fun. Some people jumped in and had a bit of a chin wag and told me all sorts of stuff.
Oh, shit, I forgot about that.
No, whatever. Of course
I'm a terrible person.
You were probably preloading for Sunday, I'm assuming.
Preloading sleep.
Yeah, so it was, I don't know. I had watched the rugby on Saturday afternoon. Watched some sports ball there, Chewy. And had a bit of a relaxing Saturday, and then just life. Kids this weekend, so had to get my eldest at home off to the Barbie movie in the weekend, and now she's convinced me that I have to go with her to see the Barbie movie. So that's a plan for this week, I think. And
you could just drag your heels and then just enjoy it.
I actually don't think it looks as terrible as everyone says. I was thinking. I mean, it's one of those things.
I'm all for it. Ben Shapiro hates it.
Yeah.
How bad can it be?
Yeah. Hey, so lots going on tonight. Of course, I'm sure some of you have seen the write-up for tonight that we're talking about Karen Plunket. There is just the most hilarious Karen Plunket clip on the internet that makes him look like a complete cuck, like an absolute beta male. And for some reason, they chose to put it on the internet. It's not even like he's being caught out and someone's showing something. It's like there was a situation on Friday that happened on their show. And then it made him look like a complete weak human being. It made their platform look completely unwanted. And then they went, hey, there's a promotion in this. It's just bizarre. Utterly bizarre.
Poor wee sausage.
The other thing is David Seymour was on the Newshub weekend show, and I wouldn't say he took apart the host. But the host was not prepared. I don't understand why we've said time and time again the very easy way to approach David Seymour on his dog whistling to the white supremacist society about the Māori Health Authority. But no one's got the memo, Chewy. So we'll go over that again tonight. He seemed quite strong on it because the host was quite weak until one moment where he had to sort of admit that he was into partnership when he was talking about how ACT put together schools and some of the schools were taken on board by Māori groups. And so the host went, oh, so you're into partnership. And there was just this pause of silence, which was quite beautiful for a second. So we'll show you that as well. And also the whole wind farm thing coming out at the moment. I don't know. I'm not going to be one of those people that goes, too little, too late, that kind of bullshit. Because, if the left votes, the left wins. And I know some of you have got those T-shirts they've been getting sent out. I got a few messages from people. And yes, the hoodies were a day later. So hopefully if people got T-shirts today, you might be seeing hoodies tomorrow, guys. So I'm not going to be negative and say too little, too late, but I am going to go back to a comment we made last week, which is if they want to be a government, any government, they should do the Arnold Schwarzenegger thing where they basically just compete all 3 years like it's the election cycle, not this fucking wait for 6 months before you need to get re-elected to throw all the lollies out. Why weren't we talking about these wind farms 12, 18 months ago, 2 years ago? Like, why are they now?
Because I don't believe them. Like any promises made like within the 8 months before election, I just don't believe them. Like, let me vote for a party based on consistent performance would be amazing, rather than, as you said, a lolly scramble in the last couple of months.
Yeah. Yeah. Just before we go on the Barbie movie, JK says Barbie movie is corrupting the youth. Sounds like a decent reason to go to me. Rose says, Dad, do you want to come see the Barbie with me? Sorry, darling, I've got to wash my hair. Pat, you're a better dad than me. And also Rob says Barbie is a legitimately incredible movie. Easily one of the best in the past 5 years. So there you go. It's going to happen. It might happen on Saturday, but it's going to happen, I think. Now, I apologise to our patrons. We've had some new patrons sign up over the weekend, and we've had a couple of patrons, I think, change their amount. I was running a bit late today, and I'm going to blow my nose because I'm a professional like that. Hang on, I'm going to turn my mic off. You dance or something, Chewy?
Clockwise and clockwise. My standard padding for time dance.
I haven't redone the Wall of Shame. Sorry, fame. I get that mixed up all the time. But for you guys, I'll get it done tomorrow, because normally we'd bring that up now and say, thanks to everyone. So just thank you if you're a patron, and if you want to be on board with what we're doing, if you're enjoying what we're doing, it's patreon.com/Big Hairy News. Here's something that I came across real late, Chewy. Now, real late, because it's had 100,000 views on Mocky Havoc's Twitter feed. But I just literally, before we start the show, came across this for the first time. If you've seen it, you'll see it again. This is Barry Soper with his wife, Heather Duplessis-Allen, that one, talking on News Talk ZB on Friday about voting for the Māori Party. All right, so that's the setup, and I'll let you hear what these two revolting human beings had to say about it.
Personal preference.
No, it's not at all. I mean, if you look at some of the impossible policies that are being promoted by the Māori Party, you'd have to say, you would have to be on the spectrum to go out there and vote for them.
Yeah.
And it's similar to the Green Party. I mean...
So Barry Soper telling people that you need to be, as Mikey says here, on the spectrum to vote for them, talking about Māori Party. Now, I don't know about you, Chewy. We can just get into a conversation about what a revolting comment that is. But to me, what it sounds like is in his deepest heart, he wants to use the R word. You'd have to be
absolutely.
We'd have to be to vote for the Māori Party. But because you're not allowed to use that word anymore, he's just found another group with a disability that he thinks he'll use that instead. I remember when Norm Macdonald got in trouble for saying that, and the R word, and then he had to go on a show and talk about it, and he said something like, I should have just said, and he was trying to fix the problem, and he goes something like, I should have just said you've got a 24th chromosome, which was worse, but he was trying to save it. And it feels like Norm Macdonald was trying to do it from a place of, I need to fix this, whereas it sounds like Barry Soper, it's like, we talk about the people who sort of want free speech want it so they can say the N-word. That's that idea of on the right. The people on the right who talk about free speech sound like they just want to say it because they want to offend people. And Barry Soper basically coming out and using a new version of the R word to talk about voters and linking it to the Māori Party. It's just, this is News Talk ZB. This is the biggest radio station in the country with the biggest drive show in the country with probably the highest profile, one of the highest profile political commentators in the country. It's disgusting.
I just wonder how these entitled pricks ever get through a day without punching down at someone. Like, it's never a fair fight. Like, it's dumb language. I don't know why you would say it. You could say there's so many other words you could have used, and that's just ignoring the nonsensicalness of, like, who would believe these crazy impossible policies that they've fully costed.
Yeah.
The only parties that have actually bloody done that, like, he's not going to bring up how crazy actors seen over the weekend, right? Have you seen that? Day one, they reckon they'll save $1 billion by sacking half of MBIE.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah, because if anything, we've had our lesson from Elon Musk that when you get rid of all the staff to try and save money, that works really well on your product in the end. It's a really good idea.
Oh, like Barry Soper. I mean, God, how long's he been a political commentator for? As long as I've been alive.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was at ZB from the early 2000s through to about 2011, and he well predates me, So 90s.
How much assistance do you think he needed to knock up Heather? Like, do you think they had to get like an intern to come in and help?
Stop. Because now there's visual pictures about how to help.
I know.
Stop.
Like how much no. Oh, I've
Stop.
done it to myself now.
Yeah, exactly. Stop.
Oh,
stop.
Why did I do that?
Raising that mast.
Like, Jesus. Barry Soper.
Yeah, well, Simon, I have to tell you, Simon, maybe someone should take Barry to the Broadcasting Standards Authority. There's plenty of petitions going around at the moment. Like I had a crack at that for Heather Duplessis Allen when she, bullied that teenager, and that got upheld on some level. So maybe there's someone else who wants to give it a crack this time around. Anywho, just revolting, just repugnant. Okay, let's have a look at this. I want to apologize before we get into this because this audio that I'm about to play for you was from the live announcement of policy. And because of the live announcement of the policy, the audio is only in mono. I don't know why TV stations do this. They always put it into stereo and post-edit. And this was from the raw feed. So it's going to go for about 2 minutes. And I think it's only going to be in one channel if you're wearing headphones. I apologize about that. Nothing I can do about that. This is Chippy today talking about renewable energy and what Labor plans to do with it as, I guess, an election promise.
So it's moving along. So coming back to renewable energy, the government is significantly accelerating progress on new wind and solar farms to generate more of our power generation. I'm announcing today that there are new wind farm projects, 3 new wind farm projects that have been approved for fast track consenting. They would cut around 150 million kilograms of carbon emissions and create up to 840 construction jobs in the Manawatu, Waiuku, near Auckland, and in Southland. Combined, they would generate about 419 megawatts of electricity at peak output. That's about the same as New Zealand's 3rd largest hydroelectric dam, the Clyde Dam. New Zealand's increasingly well positioned globally to harness wind power onshore and offshore. When it comes to offshore generation, for example, our location in New Zealand matters. The least windy sites here...
Look at the smirk on this. He likes this fact. It's like Dad's got his one fact. You watch this one. The least windy site here. He likes this fact, does Chippy?
In New Zealand are considered to have better wind energy potential than the windiest sites in Australia.
Hey, he likes that one.
This means that we've got amazing opportunities right here at our fingertips, and we're determined to make the most of those. But it's not just wind power that we want to make more progress on. We're also fast-tracking solar energy projects, with nearly 2 million solar panels already sped up through the consenting process. That's part of 9 solar farm projects which have been fast-track referred to expert consenting panels since 2021. If all of those are approved, they could add 1.87 million solar panels to the national total and generate 1,147 megawatts of energy at peak output. Again, tying that back to the Clyde Dam, that's almost 3 times the power output of the Clyde Dam. When you put those things together, the fast-track solar and the wind projects, along with geothermal projects that have also been referred using fast-track consenting, they could create about 3,500 construction jobs nationwide and employ more than 350 full-time staff when they're completed.
There you go. There's the announcement, Chewy. I want to actually go to some commentary from Lloyd Burr in a second, but first of all, what are your thoughts?
I think it's... you just can't knock any sort of project for more clean electricity generation. It's a common pushback when people bring up the transition to EVs as an example, that there isn't enough generation potential in New Zealand to support that. So anything that involves spinning that up, the stat of like 3 more Clyde dams is impressive. I still think they're missing a trick. and that there isn't some sort of subsidy for micro generation solar panels on people's rooftops. I think Australia is much better at that than we are.
So let's explain that. Are you saying I have solar panels on my roof that are feeding back into the grid? I get some kind of return for that. Is that what you're talking about?
No, I'm talking like, some sort of government subsidy or long-term payback, zero interest loan for people to get solar panels on their roof.
Right.
Because you win either way. They're either feeding power back into the grid or they're removing their drain on the grid.
Yeah, so both ways.
And it from a resilience point of view, I really like that as well. But there has been, like, to the best of my knowledge, zero mention of that being a focus at all.
Right.
So, but yeah, big project.
I think it's great. I mean, I think it's great. I think anything like this that we can add to. And look, the other thing is every country in the world is going to need more power to be generated when we turn more to electric cars. Like if tomorrow every single household in the country had an EV, we'd be fucked with our power consumption and the power that we're producing. So we need to figure out a way to generate more power. I mean, if we can do wind and solar, if that's the best way to do it we're pretty good hydro here in New Zealand. Geothermal in the middle of the North Island's pretty good as well. But wind seems to be, and yeah, there are some questions around what it does to the environment, what it does to birds and stuff like that. So that's got to be a part of the conversation. But the reality is, if we have to have more capacity for generating power, how are we going to do it? Is the best option of a bad lot wind and solar? I mean, is solar the best option and then wind and then everyone's got their own little power on their roof too? I'm not sure. But at least, I mean, you can't really complain also about 3,000 jobs. How can you? Yeah.
And I mean, I'd have to look further into this, but I mean, I was under the impression that there was already a lot of consents that had been given for wind farms.
Yeah.
And it was just a case of like, okay, well, we gave the consent, who's doing the work? And everybody's like, we'll get around to it.
Well, so this is probably a good time to jump into the commentary from Lloyd Burr, who's a part of Newshub now. He obviously Today FM all shut down, but then he's been picked up again by Newshub, and he has written this: the government is announcing a massive if. Their press release used phrases like if approved, could generate, could create. There's every chance the expert consenting panels may decline then. There's every chance the expert consenting panels may decline then, in which case the government has just announced a whole lot of nothing. Don't get me wrong, I want these projects to go ahead. I want New Zealand to be 100% renewable by 2030, but I don't want to be led up the garden path with pre-election announcements that aren't worthy of an announcement because they might not actually happen. Well, I guess, but I mean, in defence of all political parties, nothing they say pre-election might happen. I mean, everything that ACT and National are announcing right now, if we were going to go by they might not actually happen, then they should be announcing nothing because they may not be government, which means none of those things will be happening. So if this is the metric for making an announcement that it has to be in 100% of surety, then no political party would ever announce anything. Because even if Labor announces something and they have a partnership with the Greens and the Greens say no, then it's not happening. So I think that's a little bit naive of Lloyd. He goes on to say, Prime Minister Chris Hipkins rebuffed these criticisms by saying the government always announced roading projects before they were consented. These aren't public roading projects, though. These are private enterprises with private capital that will happen mostly on private land. They are not comparable. So next time, maybe wait until these types of projects have resource consents before announcing them, their environmental benefits, their economic benefits, and how they'll contribute to achieving the ambitious 2030 goal. There's every chance they will get consent, but there's every chance they won't. Don't count your chickens before they're hatched. What are your thoughts? A little bit negative, Nancy, there, or fair? I mean, like I said, I think if the metric was don't make any announcement until you have 100% surety on it, then no party would make any announcement.
Yeah. No, I think overall that commentary is fair. Like, there's some bits that I'm like, nah. There's some bits that I think are really being on the money. It is a weird announcement. Like, it's kind of like it's an easy win, and then you scratch it, and it's just like, okay, maybe not.
How much of this is just playing politics as well? How much of this is Chippy saying the right thing pre-election doesn't really mean anything?
And I mean, this is the whole thing on relying on private companies, right? Is you can give them the green light. You know, we've made this as easy as possible. You are going to build them, right? And then they'll go, well, economic situation's not great. You know, we're just going to hold off on it for a while. And then the government's left holding the key and going, well, we kind of made a big thing out of this and we really actually want you to do it. But we can't make you. So I guess we'll just go kick rocks.
Yeah. I don't know. People in the chat seem to be kind of saying it's a bit of a nothing in general. Simon says, I don't know why we haven't been given subsidies to people to have solar panels.
It seems to be a real gap. Like if it was something that was, you know, when they're bringing in the subsidies on EVs, it kind of made sense then to sort of go, actually, we're going to make the country more resilient. We're going to make this easier. EVs and micro generation kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah. Guru says community battery banks with local solar generation feeding and taking from the national grid. Peter says, I flew over new subdivisions on Saturday and noticed a lot of black roofs, but sadly, fuck all solar panels.
That again, that's something else that the government could do, of saying, well, every new build needs X percentage of solar panels, you know? And it's just trying to stay ahead of the curve rather than just doing what we usually do, which is just wait until it's a crisis and then freak out about it.
I also wonder about people building new houses. I've never built a house, but I've always thought if I ever build a house, I'd do a few things. One of the things I'd like solar panels. The other thing is I'd probably dump some 1 or 2 rainwater tanks into the ground. Even if I was on town supply, I'd still have them there as a backup or whatever. And for the you know, extra couple of % investment to a house build, why doesn't everybody do it? Let alone what you're saying, which is you could regulate it. You could figure out a way to make it a part of a new building consent pretty easily.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we're a country that is prone to reasonably devastating disasters. You know, on the East Coast, you know, I one of the channels that I follow was like covering the fact that someone was powering their house and their neighbors, you know, supplying electricity to their neighbors from their electric car in reverse.
Right. Yeah.
And that sort of thing, like essentially it just becomes a great big battery. And it's those sort of things that are like, wow, shit, if we have something like that and there is, you know, 30-40% of communities have access to solar, well then that's a big problem solved, right?
Yeah.
We're worried about the capacity of the grid for an electrified cars. This is a way that we could do it, and we're not relying on X company to follow through with their consents and then the objection process because someone doesn't like a wind farm in their eye line or on their neighbor's farm or something like that. It's just, you know, it's I get the appeal of announcing a big project, but sometimes you can get those same gains or benefits in a smaller way.
J Transform says, why not?
Oh, this is one of my favorite topics. Yes.
Nuclear. I can't say that word. Nuclear. How do you say it? How do you say
well,
it?
I think both ways are fine.
It's because I get caught up in the American system where Bush was always criticized of saying nuclear.
Yeah, well,
nuclear.
It's nucleus.
It's one of those words for me.
Nuclear. I've always said nuclear. But
the tech is much more advanced. Honestly, our stance on nuclear could be holding us back. Just have a no nuclear warheads / weaponry policy. There's a guy called Patrick Moore who used to be quite high up in Greenpeace, I believe, and he got on the wrong side of the green community when he came out, probably 20 years ago, and basically made the stance that, if we're being honest, the only real way around getting off fossil fuels when it comes to power and stuff is to get into nuclear power. It's cleaner, etc. Obviously, when it goes wrong like nothing else. But I guess his position was the risk factor for it going wrong versus the reward for, not my position, but his position of being cleaner, I guess. was something that he was pushing for a while, and obviously they got him kicked out of the boat for quite a long while.
I got to say, I'm not a big fan of it. Being a very geologically active country, I don't think it necessarily gels in a good way. Japan has managed it mostly fine. Fukushima, maybe we want to have a wee think about that. If I was a place like Finland, I'd be going, yeah, sure, we don't have earthquakes. Everything's made of granite. We just bury this in an old salt mine and forget about it.
Yeah.
Sure. But I think because of our isolation, because we have so little involved in I guess the not so much the technology but the knowledge involved in spinning up nuclear reactors and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You have to train the people. You have to train them to a really high level. We don't really do that. If my whole thing is like, if anybody in our area is going to do it, why hasn't Australia? They have one reactor. And I think it's a research one.
Right.
But they have their own uranium. It's like, I would have thought Australia would have gone, yep, we're building 15 nuclear reactors. Go for it. We could just stretch an extension cable across the Tasman Sea. We'd be fine.
Let me read this, because I wanted to make sure I had the information right on Patrick Moore. So this is Patrick Moore. Dun, 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 dun. There he is there. 76 years old. A Canadian industry consultant, former activist, early member and past president of Greenpeace Canada. This is his. This is not pre-set up, so I'm just reading this out for the first time. Moore was opposed to nuclear power in the 1970s. He believed that nuclear energy was synonymous with nuclear holocaust and everything nuclear was evil, but has since come to be in favour of it. Moore co-chaired the Clean and Safe Energy Coalition, which was supported by the Nuclear Energy Institution, a national organisation pro-nuclear industries. In 2009, as a co-chair of the coalition, he suggested that the mainstream media and environmentalism movement are not as opposed to nuclear energy as in decades past. He argues that any realistic plan to reduce reliance on fossil fuels or greenhouse gas emissions would require an increased use of nuclear energy to supply baseload power. He also criticised the cost and reliability of wind farms. So I'm not saying he's the be-all and end-all, but there is a perspective out there for nuclear that comes from some people who have been around the sort of green energy field for quite a long time. Whether it's right, wrong, or indifferent, I don't know, but just putting it out there.
Yeah, it's a really interesting argument that I'd love to rip into. I don't think it's wrong for all countries. I think if you can manage the risks, then sure, it's certainly better than having a coal-fired or oil-fired power plant. Absolutely.
A very good point you've made though about the nature, the shaky nature of these isles.
Yeah, absolutely. Are we going to be chucking our nuclear waste in the Southern Alps and hoping for the best? And then something cracks the whole country open. I don't know.
Huntley.
Yeah.
Put them in Huntley.
Yeah. But yeah. I think, an island nation, we have tides, we have wind, we have lakes, we have geothermal. I don't think we really need it.
Yeah.
I would have to say, hey, look, every house in the country has solar panels now, and we've run out of space for wind farms. We need another option. And I'll go, yeah, okay, maybe a nuclear reactor there, and it can sit just outside Auckland.
There is, I wonder about Tesla solar panels. I don't know. I forget his name. He's like the world's highest profile tech guy, MK Marquez Brownlee. I haven't watched this clip yet, but Tesla solar roof review, was it worth it? I'll have a look at that in the next day or so and report back on it. So he spent a year, I think, living with Tesla solar panels, and then he'll have the new solar panels are a Tesla owner's dream. See, I don't know.
Yeah, they're pretty crazy. They replaced their whole roof with special solar panels.
Yeah,
that are basically roof tiles.
Yeah.
It's a really clever idea.
Yeah.
I haven't really looked into it more than that, but yeah. I mean, when my place needs a new roof, solar is going to be part of that.
Cool. Very good. Interesting that once you kind of start setting up your house like that, you probably never want to leave, eh? Because until that becomes industry standard, if you set up your house to be sort of this little bastion of solar energy and comfort, you're never going to leave, are you? Because you have to go somewhere else and do it all over again.
I mean, I've been wanting to knock on one of my neighbours' doors, because I walk past his place all the time, and he's got like, I think 8 or 9 solar panels and a little Nissan Leaf in there. And
Right.
I'm like, if he has, and I assume he must have batteries, but yeah, if you're charging your house batteries during the day and then using them to charge your Leaf at night, and then you're just driving around on that, you're literally driving around for free.
Yeah,
so
well, bar the investment for the solar panels and batteries, but yeah, from there on.
Yeah, but you're not paying fuel that pays off quicker. It's just a little cheap Leaf.
Agreed. All right, hey, let's keep trucking because we want to get.
That was a tangent, wasn't it?
Well, was it? Yes, no.
Kind
what were we talking about again? We were talking because we were talking about solar power.
Barry Soper punching down on autism.
No. We'd left that story. We were talking about the wind announcement. That's what we were talking about.
Barry Soper's got wind.
Barry Soper has wind. Hey, in the weekend, David Seymour did, I guess, what they're calling as their election year interview. So I don't know whether that means this is the once off and they're not back again after this. But his election year interview on the Newshub Nation. And of course, as was expected, he came out pretty hard and pretty strong over things like the Māori Health Authority and not much pushback at all. You'd have to say if you weren't like us sort of in the weeds on this, or if you weren't like you watching right now and took an interest in this, you'd probably look at this and go, he eviscerated that host. It wasn't a very good showing of pushing back against a lot of talking points that a lot of us have heard a lot of times.
And sort of health policy. Māori live 7 years less than non-Māori. It's a given fact. So tell me what your plan is to reduce that.
Well, first of all, let's just put that fact in a little bit of context. You go back 70 years, there was actually a 20-year...
Sorry, did you just make a big sigh already?
Yes, because I know where he's going with this.
Gap between Māori and non-Māori life expectancy in New Zealand. That means that in the last 70 years, the gap is closed by 13. Māori life expectancy has increased more than twice as rapidly as non-Māori life expectancy. And I think people forget that. I think often there's a lot of despondency. People forget the wider context.
But it shouldn't be that way now. We are a modern...
Second issue is, what do we do to continue...
See what I mean? Who's running the interview? Like, who's running the interview?
Closing that gap. Well, I would make the point that if we're going to have healthcare, it should be targeted based on the needs of people. I don't accept that the only way we can target healthcare assistance is by lazily, racially profiling people, and there's two reasons why that's wrong.
Okay,
the first is that if you start saying that a person is first and foremost defined by their race, you miss things about them. You miss people who are Māori and perfectly healthy, thank you very much. You look at...
But if you're Māori and perfectly healthy, you don't need the Māori Health Authority to help you with a health issue. So what are you missing? That person won't be in the system.
He's missing so much.
I know. Well, let him get to the end of his first quote-unquote point. And this is about another 5 minutes overall, Chew, but we'll jump in a second and have a start.
At the implication of these Prezi cards being handed out to Māori expectant mothers. The implication is that mothers who are Māori need to be bribed to come in and check on their kid. That's wrong. It may be true in some cases, but it's also true in some cases of women who are not Māori.
These stats don't lie, though, do they? These stats do not lie.
Well, actually, they get misrepresented. And if you...
The thing is, the host here is not necessarily wrong, but the no pushback came because what David Seymour just did then by saying facts get misrepresented actually is correct as well. And when I say that it seems that the host wasn't prepared, it's not a good showing from Newshub.
You give me a second. The second way that you get it wrong is that actually there are non-Māori people who do have the need to have multiple comorbidities, but are also missed because your targeting is based on ethnicity. So while you're right, the stats don't lie, they miss two types of people, Māori people who don't need the help and non-Māori people that do.
Let's take that back, but there is inequity.
Right, we can jump in here, Chewy, because I mean, like, you know what I'm going to say. I'm going to go back to our tried and true that it's not, David Seymour doesn't come across as racist because he talks about inequity from race. He comes across that way because he only talks about equity when it comes to race. No other protected classes. I'm going to get to that point shortly, but I'll give you first crack at it.
There has been so many studies over decades, and they all come back to isn't it crazy that Māori are always disadvantaged, and it's just a mystery. Is that we can't work it out. It's because our system is European centric. It is white supremacist. I know people get all fucking tight and nervous when you use those two words together, but it is. Our health sector is. The outcomes for Māori in the health system are terrible, just as they are in the justice system, just as they are in the education system. And Seymour will stand on his little soapbox and go, "Oh yeah, but everything's equal, and we can't favour one." You can look at going, "Hey, look, there's a trend here. It seems that Māori get consistently bad outcomes with what we're doing. Maybe we should do something to redress that." And that could be more money, or that could be maybe we need to look at maybe a system that's not the same as we've always had it.
Yeah.
It's maybe we do need to start early, like we have been talking about for weeks. Is that if you want to change the shitty broken cycle that people have in their lives, you jump in early. It's all of these things. And this is what Seymour misses every time by going, "Well, actually, I don't like racial profiling." He misses it. And the media miss this because they keep treating ACT like they are a tiny, minor, irrelevant party, and they're not anymore. So he needs to get the same scrutiny and criticism that Hipkins and Luxon get, and he gets a fucking hospital pass on so many interviews.
Well, and one of the problems with that is because of the connection to Jenna Lynch on TV3 as well, on Newshub. Being married to one of the chief advisors is I don't care if Newshub and Discovery says, we're happy with that. This is, show me any time that she's ever pushed back against them. It's just not, you can't find it. If I asked them to send me some imagery so I could share it with my audience to give the sense that she wasn't, on some level have a bias there, and they either refused to or they couldn't. Either way, I didn't receive anything from them other than a generic statement. Here's the thing.
I was half pie expecting Seymour to pivot into like, well, actually, before Europeans arrived, these ignorant savages were living in caves, and we've blessed them with TV and takeaways, and it's their own fault after that. It was so close.
The thing, and this is the thing that I would love to talk to Mr. Seymour about, and I've contacted their office, and their office said, "Yeah, he'll come and talk to you," and then I've heard nothing. So I doubt that they will, but if they do, and if they see this, I've already said this to Mr. Seymour's face anyway, so I'd say it again. It's not that he wants equity when it comes to race. That's all he ever talks about. Now, race is a protected group, like under the Human Rights Act. But there are lots of other protected groups, and Seymour never asks for equity or equality in those other groups, right? And when it comes to the Maori Health Authority, what we want to do is provide the best possible healthcare to the people who need it, even if those people are a race. So, for example, there's a thing called sickle cell disease, Chewy. We've probably all heard of that. Some people may not be aware that mostly hits people with melanin in their skin. People of Middle Eastern and African origins are the people who get sickle cell disease more than anybody else. So are you going to go and say, well, we'll treat people with sickle cell disease, or are you going to go, we just need to put the money into these two races because that's where sickle cell disease is? It gets the same outcome, right? But he's dog whistling, talking about we don't want to go and do the area of race, but we will go after sickle cell. Whereas both get the same outcome. And also cystic fibrosis, for example, is mostly European people. Now, he'll be saying, well, we'll go after the cystic fibrosis. Now, if you went after the European groups that suffer it most of all, you're going to get the same outcome. But he's playing a dog whistle and playing games with it. And then when it comes to other protected groups, okay, so should we spread evenly, for example, breast cancer, or should females get that? Should females get the funding for breast cancer? Because that's where it happens, because that would also be discriminatory based on sex, but he doesn't care about that because he sees a need for it. Prostate cancer in men, right? Males. Prostate cancer in males. Because did you know that females can get prostate cancer? It's slightly different, but it's the same cancer. And men can get breast cancer. But I think it's also okay to put the money into females for breast cancer and males for prostate cancer, yet that would be discriminatory based on sex. This goes on and on and on and on. there is different medical outcomes for people of different ages. There is different medical outcomes for people of different disabilities. These things are all protected classes under the Human Rights Act. Yet the only one he gives a shit about, the only one he ever wants to see leveled out is race. And that's why it comes across as racist, and that's why it dog whistles to white supremacists, Chewy.
I would love to sit Seymour down and go, at what point were Māori and Pākehā treated equally? At what point did we have the same starting point? What year? What decade even? Because it's always like, oh no, everything needs to be equal. Everything's only equal if we had the same starting point, and if someone wasn't hobbled before they even got out to the track. Like, it's that whole thing of equality or equity, you know? And Seymour's got no answer for that.
Yeah.
Because you can't piss off your base.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Let's play a bit more of this conversation. And then what we're also going to do is, actually, maybe we're pretty much done with him. Are we done with him? Maybe we're done with him. What
Unfortunately not, but
we'll
we'll
go to the panel.
Of a different show.
There was a panel afterwards talking about it, including Sue Bradford and some others. And this was their take on what David Seymour had to say. Obviously, there's a lot more in the interview. If you want to go and see it, go and check it for yourself. But, no, I will play you one other bit, though, because I wanted to play the bit where he kind of had to clam up because he admitted to liking partnership. But this is what the panel said afterward. This is just 2 minutes we're going to play.
David Seymour riding high. Is this his sort of moment?
I think you're right about that. It's absolutely terrifying when you hear
from your point of view.
From the point of view of the people I work with and care about in this country, the fact that he accepts that wealth divide and would actually seek to increase it with a low flat tax and with a heap of their other policies.
Well, he says he doesn't resent wealthy people. He does not that he's trying to increase the tax.
His policies do, and if you look in the detail of welfare and policing and everything else, it's all about slamming into Māori, slamming into low income and no income people, slamming into beneficiaries. His vision is of a society where the rich get richer and
he would obviously dispute what you're saying. He's saying it's a different way to bring everybody up.
I also don't like how this interviewer is now sort of both sidesing it. Like he's dreadful. Yeah, it's not good. I mean, it's okay to be an interviewer and go. That's actually what he thinks. You don't, but the big kind of going. Well, I'm sure he wouldn't say that. So you don't have to both sides this thing. It's actually, you can actually just leave it. It's okay.
Clear, even from that short interview, much less reading their policies. And he's just calling out to those people that are going to the joint bachelor meetings, the anti-co government.
All right, so you're saying that. I mean, he denies
dog
it.
Whistling.
You say he's dog whistling. Oh, you're huffing there. Actually.
No, because actually, I think there is something wrong with Act's tax stance, and for example, you've got a whole lot of parties in Parliament, National, the Greens, they're all in favour of indexing tax rates, right? So that they're inflation-proofed. And ACT Party is against it in principle, and so the reason the ACT Party is against it is because most of the tax cut would go to lower earners. So there is something to be said for the fact that the ACT Party is very, very focused on the moneyed interests in the country.
Okay, and in terms of it's his debate around co-governance and the treaty, I mean, he denies that it's dog whistling. He's actually just a vision for the future.
Well, on some level, it's not dog whistling. Yeah, that's exactly right. It's not really whistling anymore, is it? I mean, I think the National Party are whistling because they have to be seem to be a bit more centrist, but I think ACT has just taken it on board and they're just shouting it from the fucking rooftop.
Future of a unified New Zealand.
Look at the language he's using, racial profiling. Just these kind of things that trip off the tongue that, as Sue is saying, these are dog whistles to the kinds of people. I mean, I don't think he himself is like that, but he's using the phraseology that appeals to people like that.
Do you think that's deliberate? Do you believe that's
Clarkson's doing it as well, and it's
so political opportunism, right?
Absolutely.
So there you go. Now I will play for you this other. I'll have to cue it up as we go in the end of this clip, though. I was going to end it at 8 minutes 10, so I'll go to about 7 minutes when he's talking about schooling, and then we'll get this because it's quite a night. There is one little thing that this interviewer does quite well and calls him out on, being pro-partnership when he's constantly talking about being anti-partnership.
That's correct, isn't it?
That's right.
But we are a signatory to the United Nations Declaration of Indigenous Peoples' Rights, and that recognises self-determination, doesn't it?
Well, I think that was a mistake. I think that...
Terrible answer by Seymour, because he's saying that was wrong. It doesn't matter that was wrong. That's the current standing.
whole declaration is wrong. And I'll tell you how we in New Zealand, I mean, first of all, the idea that New Zealand, one of the most equitable, liberal, democratic countries in the history of humanity, should be dictated to by the United Nations, where everybody gets an equal vote, even though some of the people voting for these motions are people with the most grotesque human rights abuses there are.
Yeah,
I mean, let's throw that out.
Yeah, okay, but these rights have been recognised by courts, by previous governments. They're all entrenched in New Zealand society. They are recognised, and you're saying, let's get rid of that.
Well, you started this interview by arguing that they're not working.
Yes,
our argument.
It's just if we accept, I'll just finish this point. If these are all accepted, and you're coming from this particular point of view, it's political opportunism in this election campaign, really, isn't it?
Not at all. And if you allow me to explain where we're coming from, you'll see that that's untrue. So if you look at the question of devolving services, ACT has been at the forefront of this. When we had nearly no political capital, what did we do? We created partnership schools, Kura. What did partnership schools do? They allowed people from each community to put forward ideas to better engage kids in their community from their education.
So you do believe in partnership?
Do you think, Simon, we could just finish more than 2 sentences in a row?
Please find that frame. Please, that face. I need it. No, there's a little bit. He's just. He just looks like he's got. Oh no, it's happening again. Yeah.
So I mean, credit where credit's due. I know we've been fairly harsh on Newshub tonight, but good question, good point back. Basically saying, when it's your policy, and this is often what you'll find with the right, when it's your policy about adding more bureaucracy, it's not too much bureaucracy. When it's your policy about partnerships are okay. But it's when it's the other guys who are adding bureaucracy, that's bad. It's when the other guys are talking partnership, that's bad. So yeah, that was a credit where credit's due. That's a very good moment by the interviewer there.
I've seen that look before. Just trying to find it. Oh no, that's not it.
Has it got the thing you're looking for? Has it got an H on the forehead?
No, we've done that. Where is it? No, that's not it. There we go. I've seen it before, Pat. I've seen that look.
This look here.
Oh wait.
It's that same look. That's eerily similar.
You had to back away. So
very good.
Poor wee cupcake dog.
So there you go. It wasn't a good interviewer. The interviewer didn't do a good job. However, there was a couple of good moments, and I think it's fair that we show the good moments as well, so we don't sort of tear them a new one, so to speak.
I mean that's a big issue, right? Like in an election year, I want these guys that are interviewing these guys be on their A game.
Yeah.
I want them to be well researched. I want them to know, like, you're interviewing David Seymour. I want him to spend his week looking at David Seymour interviews and working out how he answers these things. And just like we've seen from Jack Tame so many times, just get them on the ropes and don't let them off. Don't let them run their talking points with no interference.
Yeah.
You know, you got to hold them to this stuff. This is what we as the electorate need to see.
Yeah. Very good. Thanks for the super chat, Planner. Planner Walk saying David Seymour looks like Kermit the Frog. Hey ho, Kermit the Frog here. That also sounds a bit like Jordan Peterson, doesn't it? Hey ho, you have to go and tie your beds. Make your bed. Everything will be okay.
Communism's coming to get you.
Communism's coming to get me. So thanks for the super chat there, Planner. And I think that's about it for David Seymour for today. So let's move on. I guess one of the feature stories of tonight, we want to talk about New Zealand's biggest cuck. And New Zealand's biggest cuck.
You make it sound like he's the winner of a game show.
Yep. Congratulations, King Cuck. If you've seen this, you know what's coming. If you haven't, you'll be amazed. Remember, the platform has put this up as a highlight, right? As a highlight of their show. Basically, Karen Plunket being told to fuck off by Top. Much more polite than that. But so we've had this form before, right? With Karen Plunket door stopping people. And it's exactly what he's done again. I'll let it play out because it's pretty much all self-explanatory, but called out of the blue, put on air live, and challenged as to why he didn't want to talk to the platform. Enjoy.
G'day. Is that you, Raf?
Yes, it is.
Sean Plunket calling from the platform.
Hello, Sean.
Hi, look, we've been trying to get hold...
So that's the greatest hello. That's the greatest. Oh, my God. Do I have to talk to... Oh, my God.
From the platform.
Hello, Sean.
Hi, look, we've been trying to get hold of you for a couple of days for an interview.
That's right, yes.
Yeah, did you not want to return?
So that's the thing, right? He just said, that's right. You have been trying to get a hold of me for a couple of days. Yes, I'm aware that you've been trying to get a hold of me.
That's right, yes.
Yeah, did you not want to return our calls? Or you chose not to? Or what?
Yes. Yeah.
You chose not to?
Not to. Yeah.
Okay, because you're on ZB the other day.
How
That's right, yes.
Okay, so look, I'm just trying to clarify for platform followers and listeners, and there are tens of thousands of them. You don't want to talk to them? You're not interested in their votes or putting your views or the party's position out to them?
It's the platform I don't want to be on, Sean.
Why not, Ray?
Because I just don't like the way you talk about stuff. I mean...
What stuff? Give me an example. Because I want to resolve this. I'm a conflict resolution guy. What do we say about you that you don't like?
Well, I mean, it's not even just about me. I mean, you've obviously said we've got no chance.
No, I haven't actually. I've actually speculated, and the reason we wanted to talk to you was I thought the Roy Morgan poll suggested that you're players.
Yeah, well, I know we're players, but I'm not worried about that. It's just, I don't have to be on the platform. It's not.
Okay, so you really cannot be asked about the potential voters who listen to and watch the platform. You don't want to talk to them.
So this is the thing that Plunket's doing, right? He's linking Rafe wanting to get votes to the platform. In other words, he's not at any point saying, I don't want their votes or I don't want them to vote for me. He's saying, I don't want to have anything to do with you, Sean Plunket. You are the problem, not your voters. Whereas Sean Plunket is saying, my listeners are who you're rejecting, whereas Rafe's saying, I'm rejecting you, Sean Plunket. You are unethical. That's what he's saying, which can be shown by Sean Plunket, again, door-stopping someone, as we have highlighted on other occasions, Chewie. Let's get to the end of this clip. It doesn't go too much longer.
I don't want to be on the platform. Yeah.
Why not? What is it about the platform that makes you not want to be on it?
Well, that's my choice. I don't have to go and talk to anyone.
Okay. Are you really serious about getting elected, Rafe? Because it would strike me the top party and you are not in positions to be picky like this.
So he's basically, what he's literally saying, you have to come on because you're not doing well enough. So Plunket is trying to sell the idea that the platform has enough power to get top more votes. Now,
oh yeah, this is because Plunket still believes he's at the top of the game and on a legitimate news platform. Like he just equated himself with ZB before.
Yeah. And I'll tell you something, too. I'm going to say something publicly that you and I have heard from behind the scenes. We won't reveal where it's come from, but something to do with how the Wright family currently thinks about the platform. The word behind the scenes is what's going on. I've showed you this, haven't I? You've seen this. And obviously we're not going to reveal our sources. But at the end of this clip, we'll tell you a little bit about what we are hearing from people within the circle are saying about the Wright family and their unhappiness with Mr. Plunket at the moment.
Well, I don't see it like that. I mean, let me have a think about it, Sean. But,
okay, well, look, give us a ring back. We've reached out. I'm a little hurt.
Obviously.
Given everything, but if you want to reconsider that position, we are always happy to have you on because we believe in balance and talking to as many people as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, let me have a think about it.
All right, thank you very much indeed. Cheers.
Now, look, you would think that a professional broadcaster would finish that conflict and go, oh, well, there you go. We've started the path. Do you think this man is classy enough to do that, or do you think he'll go lower? What do you think, Chewie? What's your guess before I play it?
Oh, straight to the deck.
All right.
Like a
so remember,
like a
so Rafe's
like a dive bomber.
just jumped off, basically saying, I'll think about it. Now, I suspect he won't be thinking about it. I'll be thinking that's the way he gets off the phone. But this is the comments from Karen straight after he's just said to him, to the head of top, we'd be happy to talk to you guys. We want to talk to you guys. This is the comments that follow.
Yes. Oh, there we go. I'm sorry, Rafe, you're a retail politician, buddy. And you got to get 140,000 votes or more.
No, it doesn't. It's got to be
And
an
I'll
island.
tell you what, the platform has, though I cannot speak for every individual. We got a bunch of people who listen to and interact with the platform who are quite fluid thinkers. I always get the feeling the platform listeners are not necessarily in our audience.
Sane. I think we'll just leave it there. Not necessarily sane. And when they say fluid, I think that means they've got water on the brain. I think that's what that means, Chewy. So anyway,
that's exactly what I was thinking.
So anyway, first of all, I just want to highlight again, the platform put that out as a highlight clip about Sean Plunket being proven that he's a beta male, that a minority party leader that they're begging to have come on says, you're not worth my time. I don't want to interact with you. That was a highlight for the platform. God knows why, but it was, Chewy.
Yeah, because he thinks it's a win. It's he's scared of us, or he doesn't give a fuck about us. I want to contrast Raf's point of view with the other legitimate politicians that have stooped to go on the platform.
Totally. I actually think
literally stooped.
I actually think, and I've been talking to Raf today. I mean, I've been messaging with him, and I've asked him to come on, and he said he'd come on and have a chat with us, Jay. Isn't that funny? I'm sure that'll get up Plunket's cloaca. I'm sorry. I don't know why I said cloaca. It just felt so right at the moment, and now I feel so dirty.
I don't like that. I don't like thinking of Sean Plunket having a multi-use orifice.
And look, what Caitlin has said is actually what I'm saying now as well.
Yeah.
I actually think we're in and this is what I've said to Rafe on the messaging today. It's like, I actually think this is an ethical stance by someone who could do what what Luxon does, or could do what Seymour does, and have to figure out, not so much Seymour because he's pretty out there, but what Luxon does, and have to try and find that line, Luxon's dilemma, about how to get the white supremacists, racists, misogynists, ugly people to vote for you, whilst not endorsing their views publicly. Dog whistle to them, give policy that they like, but don't acknowledge them. That's what National has to do. Whereas I think it's principled of top to go, you're repugnant. Now, I'm paraphrasing. You're repugnant.
Oh, no,
I want nothing to do with you. You are unethical. You are disgusting. And you know what? I remember when Luxon had that comment for Joe Hawke, the Māori comments for Joe Hawke on his Facebook page, we said on that night, the correct response by a potential leader of this country should have been to come out and tell those people, I don't want your votes. And that might have lost him some votes. Now, I'm sorry, I'm just seeing some of the quotes talking about my genital comment. I'm sorry about that, guys. That's why I'm looking this way now, so I don't look at the chats anymore and start laughing. Now, I think what Rafe's done is he's actually gone. Now, I'm sure if you asked him, he would have nothing against the people who listen to the platform. But what he's done is, it's not worth it to me, and I haven't had this conversation, just to be clear, this is my impression, it's not worth it to me to have to deal with a disgusting pig bucket like you to speak to those people. It's not worth it. And I think it's a principled stand, and I have more respect for Top today than I did because of it.
There's a couple of other issues as well, right? So Sean's made a habit out of this, right? He's not covered Karen.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know who you were talking about. Sorry.
The shit onion. He's made a habit of this, of crashing people live onto air, because he's not on a traditional broadcast medium anymore. So the Broadcasting Standards Authority doesn't pertain to him. He can do what he wants. We could do the same fucking thing.
Yeah.
But it crosses a bound of respect and honesty and just like best practice for broadcasting, right? Because if you contact him off air and go, hey man, it's shitbag, you know, the haunted ham volcano from the platform, we want to have you on the show.
Yeah.
Do you want to be on the show? And then you could hear that no, go fuck yourself off air, and then you don't have to tell anybody about it. Or you get someone who is motivated to be on the platform, speak to your listeners, and give you content. It's this attitude that Sean has of like, no, you have to come to me.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to give you something. You can't tell me that there's even one regular listener of the platform that would consider voting for Top.
Well, I don't know if that's true or not, but what it is Sean Plunket acting like a gatekeeper when he hasn't realised that there's no gate behind him, and no fence, and no building, and no property. Now, look, again, people are going to say in the chat, well, they're much bigger than you guys. Yeah, fine, they are, but they're nothing compared to like RNZ, TVNZ, Newstalk ZB, and they're run by a disgusting pig bucket. So he's not a gatekeeper.
We're also not fucking cold calling people and go, well, if you don't talk to us this instant, we're to ring you out of the blue, you're not going to win the election. You're not going to get a seat. We're the kingmakers. You know, it's just, oh God, I hate him.
So just ironically and by chance on the same day, there's a couple of other text messages, tweets that have come out which I wanted to highlight as well. Chanel Lal has put out a tweet, I think in the weekend this came out. I'll put it up for you. Sean Plunket put out a tweet that said, the real story is Chanel buying thousands of copies of his own book to boost sales. Chanel said
that should be provable, right?
Chanel said, Sean Plunket is a serial liar, claims I bought thousands of copies of my book, which 23-year-old has $37,000 sitting around to buy 1,000 books. Plunket harassed me to go onto his show for months. So this is a pattern of harassment from this quote unquote platform to get people to go on. You would have heard in that commentary with Raf that is produced. You know what? I actually kind of feel sorry for, I think his name is Ben Espiner, because once the platform falls over, no one will touch him. He will have no job anywhere that will have him. I just hope he's getting good remuneration to cover him for a few years, because this is the end of his career as well. Plunket will go off and be Alex Jones and find funding from some other alt-right alternative. But the people who work there, it's like when Today FM fell over, all the producers and all those people were fucked. The hosts, they're fine. Anyway, Plunket harassed me to go onto a show for months. He found my phone number and called me at night and begged me to go on his show. Sounds pretty revolting, yeah? And then today, of course, Caitlin, who we've already had in the chat today, and we said we were going to use this tonight, has put this up. Sean Plunket has put out a tweet again. Serious question for you, Elon Musk. If you want X to be the town square, a forum for open communication and ideas, why not remove the block function?
Jesus Christ.
As it is, people can hide in the shadows of this platform and act in bad faith. Let us unfollow or prevent DMs, but let's be open about what we say on X. And to which Caitlin then highlighted, she was blocked by Sean Plunket. So Sean Plunket is calling Elon Musk, putting up this fake, false front that they want it completely open and everyone talking to everyone. And I'll say it again. If you want X to be the house we have an open forum, why not remove the block function as he utilizes the block function? Hello? Anybody else see a little bit of hypocrisy in that? Now, finally.
Only a little bit.
We've told you this before, different industry insiders, but I have been informed by people in the know that the platform is burning through between 100 and 200K a month at the moment. They got a couple of $1 million set up fund. There would have been a good chunk of that would have been for, the studio and the equipment and stuff. But let's say they had $1.5 million left over. If they're burning $150,000 a month, if that number is accurate, that's 10 months of operations, right? If it's 100,000, it's 15 months of operations. So they're obviously getting money coming in as well. because they've got supporters, and that's all good. But I'm reliably informed by industry insiders who are in the know that they are burning in the vicinity of 150k a month at the moment. I'm also reliably informed, and Chewy can testify to this, he's seen the commentary that I've had on this by a different industry insider, that the Wright Family Foundation is over Sean Plunket. Now, this is inside word. This, I guess, is rumour, but the rumour is the Wright Family Foundation is over this guy. And I wonder if this kind of thing is the kind of thing that's driving them away from him, should that rumour be correct.
God, imagine getting rejected by that dreadful organisation.
So, Guru is asking, does the platform have advertising? No one wants to advertise on it. I believe they've got one. I think they've got one advertiser at the moment that's a fertilizer, and I think that's mostly because they've got shit for brains. Mostly.
Are they at the herbal penis pills part of their evolution yet?
I don't think that's quite. I think that's what comes up next. Now,
Right.
now I have to say, in all seriousness, they are both rumors, but they both come from industry insiders, separate ones, who know that world and know what goes on in that world. I've said for, what, Chewy, would you say 3 or 4 months, that what I think is going to happen is the money's going to run out. Devlin, Laws will be looking for new work. Most of the staff there will be looking for new jobs, and Plunket will go off and become New Zealand's Alex Jones and start selling penis pills to support it. And to be honest, he may well quite do okay for himself. However, the Wright family currently owns 75% of the platform, which means none of the branding, none of the imaging, none of the equipment will go with Sean Plunket. He'll be off doing his own thing. Perhaps they'll see through to the election, and then next year might be a very different story. But there's a couple of rumours. But I would say, Chewy, in fact, you've been in one of the meetings and you've seen the meeting I had with someone else because I showed it to you. They both come from pretty reputable sources.
Yeah, absolutely. 100% agree. I personally am looking forward to Sean hawking herbal penis pills, and I assume some sort of cloaca cream. It'll be great. I think
we just found a T-shirt, something about a cloaca. Is it going to be our next T-shirt?
Sean's cloaca cream.
Yeah.
We'll see if we get a response from that.
All right. I think we have to finish.
Show us your block list, cuz.
We have to finish on one thing, Chewy. Yep. The last time we talked about Sean Plunket door stopping, Chewy and I had a bit of a chat about it.
Mm-hmm. There's just so much wrong with it. It's like he's an onion made of shit. Just every layer you peel off, it gets shittier. Like
that young man.
And honestly, I have to say, it's not because he's blocked me on Twitter. That is hurtful. Oh, that's right.
That's a bit of a problem around free speech, isn't it? He's stopping
just a little bit. And
there you go. I just and if you haven't seen that
clip, he blocked me.
Yeah, if we haven't seen that clip was when he door stopped Suze Wilson and then bullied her immensely for several minutes. Yeah. So
it's such a minimal thing, right? Hi, it's Sean from the platform. We're live on here. Just wondered if you wanted to talk to us for a sec.
Yeah.
No,
fuck off.
That's too hard because So I think you've said it before, Sean. If any of us are in a position where Sean Plunket rings us at any stage, start swearing like a sailor, you're probably live on air.
I would like to have a backer, and I would say to a backer, how about we do this? How about every time someone says no to the platform, we donate $100 to the charity of the choice of the person that said no, and then start it as a campaign, and then be like, see how many people say no. It would be fascinating to see people with email chains, the ones who have actually said no to him. And you kind of hinted at this before, Chewy, and I think this is a really interesting point. The people who aren't going to be ethical about this, who will go on anything for a vote, i.e. National Party MPs and also ACT Party MPs and any other minor party MPs as well, I think should be called on it. I think should be at least questioned as to what they're doing and why they're happy to be involved there and actually sell out on some level so they can speak to that audience of people with water on the brain, fluid people, whilst not acknowledging any of their positions of these people or distancing themselves from what they all believe. I think it's a good time. Oh, Caitlin says that she turned that down. Caitlin turned down platform last year. You know what? I've said to Plunket a couple of times, why don't you have me on? He's never taken me up on it.
Have you tried ringing him at night and begging him? Please ring him. No. Please.
Should I call him now? I've got his number. Shall I doorstop him?
Hey, now we're onto it. Crash him live to air. Oh, it's a bugger having integrity, isn't it? It stops you doing so many funny things.
It is. All right. There has been a ton of chat going past, especially in this part of the conversation.
I just want to acknowledge 2 comments.
Go.
Caitlin is the absolute queen of insults. Plunket looks like a stack of porridge skins. And not to be outdone, Plunket is shaped like a block of gravy in a glad bag.
Oh, man. You guys are going hard.
You guys are savage. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
And I apologise for those of you when I made my cloaca comment that are not going to sleep tonight. I'm sorry about that. I do apologise. But it felt right in the moment, and now I'm going to go upstairs and have a shower because I feel dirty. All right, guys.
While we're talking about genitals, this is a little piece of homework for our listeners. Everybody
Hang
in the
on.
chat.
Hang on. Are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure?
Yes, I'm very sure.
Okay.
2 things I want people in the chat to do. A, give us a like. Share the video around because it's a banger. Secondly, I want you to Google echidna penis.
You said this last week.
Because it's
Why?
still funny. They haven't changed it.
The problem is being dyslexic. I don't even know how to spell echidna. There we go. Got it.
Oh, you're not doing it live, are you?
I'm doing it right now. I'm not going to show it.
Okay.
Oh, good Lord. I have seen that before.
I've seen everything. That's my party trick. At if you're with a group of people and the
Don't do it,
conversation
people.
fades, you tell them all to Google echidna penis.
Don't do it.
I'm a
Don't do
horrible
it.
person. Don't do what I tell
Don't
you to
do
do.
it.
Apart
Don't
from
do it.
like, comment, and subscribe.
Like
Smash
and
that
subscribe.
notification bell.
Smash that bell. Is that what you say? I don't know. Something like that.
Yeah, smash it. Smash it.
And if you're listening on the audio podcast, make sure you give us a rating and review, especially if you're on Apple Podcast. That would be very, very, very appreciated. I think we're done. All right. I think we're done. So we'll come back tomorrow night at 9 p.m. for another edition. Thanks, team, for being with us tonight. We appreciate it all. And we will be back to talk to you tomorrow with more Big Hairy News from 9 p.m. Thanks to our patrons. I'm sorry that we didn't get the wall of shame up tonight, but some people added in some more patronage this weekend. It will come up tomorrow night. And thanks to the people who came and joined us for the chat. I really appreciate that people didn't forget to come and chat with us on Saturday morning. They just decided to come and they didn't forget about it, Chewy. They didn't just go, I forget what to do in the chat. They just came and had a chat with us on Saturday morning. They didn't forget at any
I'm
stage.
sorry. That's the second time I've done it too. I'm a fucking terrible person.
All right, guys. Take it easy. We'll catch you tomorrow night from 9 p.m. for another edition. Be safe. And remember, tomorrow night, come along and bring a friend. Hooroo.
Cheers, folks.